Hello and welcome to this part of the video series where we are learning all about FreeCAD, and for this video we are going to learn about the Sketcher module. Now in the previous videos we learned about how we can use polyline tool, we can use rectangle, polygon and the slot module of Sketcher, which is in FreeCAD 0.18. In this video, we are going to concentrate our efforts on how to create a fillet between two lines or at a coincident point, how to create a trim. So if there are edges that we don't want, how to trim them, and how to extend an edge with respect to a pick point or a pick position. So let's get started. Here you can see that I've got a couple of lines, in fact 3 different sets of lines where they are meeting at a point. The first point that we want to make a fillet out of is at a junction of 2 lines which are at 90 degrees to each other. The second one has an obtuse angle and the third one has an acute angle. Now there is a specific reason why I selected these 3 different types of line angles, and we'll see soon. So to create a fillet, first click on the button and then select the line that you want to be filleted. Now those lines should intersect each other at a point, and what we saw is that when we click on those points, FreeCAD creates a fillet. So what technically is a fillet? When you have a straight line and an arc which joins the straight line, and the joining between the arc and the straight line, it is tangential at both ends of the arc. So this arc is tangential to this line and also this line, which is evident from this symbol that you can see at the point. Now when the arc is tangent at that point, we can say that FreeCAD has created a fillet. Now one thing to notice here is that the angle previously between these 2 lines was 90 degrees. After creating a fillet, that arc of the fillet has an angle of 90 degrees. Now let's create the fillet between an obtuse angle. So the 2 lines that we are going to create a fillet between has obtuse angle with it. So when I click on it, you can see that an arc has been created and the angle of that arc is acute angle. Next, let's create fillet for an acute angle which is between 2 lines, and as we can see, I'll zoom in. As we can see, the angle of the arc is obtuse angle. So if the lines have 90 degrees between them, the angle of the arc will be 90 degrees. If the lines have an obtuse angle between them, then the angle of the arc would be an acute angle. And if the 2 lines have acute angle between them, then the arc will have obtuse angle. Now let's see how we can create fillets, or what are the different types in which we can create fillet. Now we saw previously that when we click on 2 line segments which are coincident at a point, then we can create a fillet. The other way of creating fillet is by just clicking on that coincident point, which I'll demonstrate just now. As you can see, when I clicked on that point, a fillet was created. So what is the difference between creating a fillet by clicking on a point, which I'll demonstrate again, and by clicking on 2 line segments? Now just watch carefully. I am going to click on, I'll demonstrate on this side of the edge. So I want to create a fillet on this angle here. The first point that I select is more than 50% of this line segment here. So I've selected this line segment, and for this line segment I'm again clicking more than 50% of the length of that line segment. As you can see, the fillet has been created, but it just changed the entire geometry. But the one thing that can be noticed here is that the angle of the arc that was made a bit further down on the track. So if I Control Z and come back to here, if I click here more than 50% and here less than 50%, you can see that Fillet is trying to create an arc which is close to the first point that we clicked. So I can demonstrate it here again. If I click it here and I click it here, then the fillet was created at the first point where I clicked. The difference between clicking on the two edges and clicking on just the coincident point is that when you click on coincident point, FreeCAD will create an arc in between with the smallest possible angle. And when you select or when you click on a point on a line segment, FreeCAD will try to create a fillet at that point or the first point that you clicked for filleting. Now let's have a look at, can we create fillets for this particular pentagon? Now this pentagon is right now having its points on the circle. Now this circle, again, it's a construction circle, or that won't be carried forward in extrusion or things like that if we do it in the future videos. But let's see, if I click on this point and create a fillet, what will happen is, now this pentagon, this point which was on this circle is not relevant anymore. So you can see that I can change the pentagon because this point no longer is on the circle. So it breaks one of the constraints of the point on a circle. Let's keep on doing that. How about we select more than 50%, and you can see that now an arc has been created, but it is a bit bigger, and the point that was on the circle now is beyond the circle. Let's keep on doing this. So if we create sufficient points, what it is doing is it is just breaking the bond between the pentagon and the circle. Now we have broken the bond for all of the 5 edges or all of the 5 endpoints, and you can see that I can move this circle independent of the pentagon, or which was pentagon previously. So I can go in and delete this, and this shape is free of that circle. So that's how you can create all the different types of fillets. Next, let's learn about the trim tool. Now here too we have 3 different or 6 different line segments, and they are in pairs of 2, and these 2 line segments have a obtuse angle between them. These 2 line segments have 90 degrees, and these 2 line segments have an acute angle between them. So how does trimming work? If I click on the trim tool and say I would like to remove this side of this line segment with respect to this line, if I click on this line segment or the edge of the line segment, then FreeCAD will delete all of the line segment till it encounters another edge. Again, if I click on a point, it won't let me select a point, so you will have to select a line segment. Now if I clicked on this side of this line segment of this point, then FreeCAD will remove this section. If I click on this side of the line segment, FreeCAD will remove this side of the line segment. Now let's do the same thing for a 90-degree angle, or a 90-degree angle between 2 lines. Now as you can see, when I click for the first time, FreeCAD removes the line segment up to that line, and it also puts a point on a edge constraint for this point. So to demonstrate it, if I move this line, this point is still on this line segment. If I move this, the line segment moves with keeping this point still on this line segment. So that is one of the critical things that you need to understand. Now when I remove the other line segment, the point on a line segment constraint goes away, but you can see that right now these 2 points are coincident, so that's how they are constrained with each other. Next, let's have a look at another way of trimming line segments. Now what I want to do is I would like to remove this line segment and then remove on the outer side and then inside and outer side and inside. So let's just quickly do it. If I start clicking, FreeCAD will help me to quickly trim these line segments based on the geometry or the clicks that we make. So I can say that this is a fast operation in FreeCAD. Now, we had a look at how to create Bezier curves in the previous video. If you haven't watched that video, I would suggest that you go back into the channel and check all the other videos that I have created for creating these Bezier curves. Now, what if you would like to trim these line segments? Now, one of the points that I would like to make here is that you can see several different types of line segments in here. Just to highlight a few, you can see that these are the line segments that are created with the line tool. This Bezier curve was created using the Bezier curve or B-spline tool. Now, how to create a B-spline is explained in the previous video, but these all circles were used to create this Bezier curve or B-spline. Now, right now, all of these points or all of these circles are equal. If I delete this equality sign, I can make this circle bigger, and you can see that this curve will be shifted towards this point. Now, there is another line which connects the end points or the center points of these circles, and that is shown by this green line. Now I cannot highlight that green line here. Even if I want to select it, I can't select it. So why am I telling you all of this? What I'm trying to say is that FreeCAD or the trim tool in FreeCAD will only trim till the edge which you can select. Just to make my point, how about let's trim this inside segment of this line and see if it stops at this line segment, the green line segment that you can see, which is connecting these 2 center points, or does it stop at the circle? As you can see, I'll zoom in. As you can see, the green line segment that was there, it had no effect, or it did not stop. The line segment or the trim tool did not stop at that, because that is not even a construction line. That is just the line used to create a center point or the distances between center point. So that's how trim tool works. Now let's keep on doing or trimming this line segment. If I select this point, or how about this, let's change the position of this. Now what I would like to do is I would like to show that this line or the trimming tool will trim to the Bezier curve as well. So when I click on here, the trim tool trims this line segment till the Bezier curve. So what can be trimmed up to? You can use trimming, or the edges of the trim will be either a B-spline, it will be either a construction line, or it can be just a line segment. Just to prove my point, how about we do it this way and again. So this is just a point, 2 line segments, and trim will trim it that way. This line segment, I'm trying to trim it with the help of a construction circle, and FreeCAD does that very easily. Next, let's have a look at the trimming tool between an arc or a circle. So there are 2 circles which are intersecting each other. Now I would like to create, how about I remove this point and I remove this edge of the circle. You can see that FreeCAD creates two different arcs. Now these two arcs, they still have a center point, so this circle is still valid, or the arcs are still valid because it has 2 points, which are these two, and it has a center point. So FreeCAD tries to create valid or true shapes when you use trim tool. Now let's have a look at trimming with respect to a line segment. So a circle can be trimmed with respect to 2 line segments, and a line segment can also be trimmed with respect to a circle, as can be seen here. So that was all about trimming. Next, let's have a look at how we can extend an edge with respect to a picked position. So I would like to extend this edge, and then when I click on that edge and move my cursor, FreeCAD will show me that this is the direction in which we are going to extend this line. Now if I click here, FreeCAD will extend that line till that point. Now what if I would like to constrain that line segment only till this line segment? We can use a trim tool as I just showed you previously. The other way of doing it is this extending line. How about I extend this line only till this line segment? So I'll click on this line segment and I want to just make it to this point. So I can select any point on this line segment and FreeCAD will still make this line go all the way up to, or extend all the way up to, this line segment. Just to prove my point, I'll click on this side of it. Now one thing to notice is that this line segment shifted or rotated slightly because the point that I clicked was on the other side or on the right hand side of that line. Now if I want to just prove that point again, I would like to extend this line, but if I select this line here, you can see that this line segment rotated towards left or in anti-clockwise direction because the selection of the point I did was on the left hand side of the line segment that needed to be extended. Now one thing to keep in mind is that this extension of line segment or the edges is a bit different to trimming. In trimming, original line segments are never rotated or moved from their existing position. It only trims, the trimming tool only trims the line segment and it brings it close to the edge. But in extension or in the tool where we can extend an edge with respect to a picked point, there is a chance that that line segment will rotate or will move based on the picked point that you do. Just to prove my point, how about I'll just select this and extend it. Now other thing to note is I can select these line segments. So if I selected this line segment and then if I move it on the other side of the line segment where the line segment does not exist, FreeCAD will extend that line segment. But if I click on the inside of the line segment again, FreeCAD will trim that line segment to that point. So in another way, this extension of the line segment works as trimming as well. The next thing I would like to show is extension of a line segment with respect to a circle. Now this extension is not just limited to the line segments. I can select an arc and that arc we will be able to extend that arc to a particular circle, or we can extend that arc. If I move this line here, we can extend this arc to this line segment. So that can be done. So that's how you can extend in FreeCAD. So what did we learn today? We learned how to create fillets in FreeCAD, how to trim line segments, circles, and arcs with respect to another line segments, another circle, B-splines, and arcs, and how to extend line segments and circles and arcs with respect to other circles, line segments, and arcs. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.